Hey, you blink, I'll cut your eyelids off. Don't you blink.
I got you.
Let's go. Particularly at home in front of our fans, man, just really appreciative of the efforts of everyone. A lot of positive contributions in all three phases. Obviously, some things we can do better and things that we need to work on, but it's good to work on those things with the win. And so we'll take those lessons and move forward and get ready for our next opportunity. We'll be right back in here next week. We just got to keep digging. Appreciative of the win, appreciative of the efforts. A lot of fun in the locker room, man. It's just good to get the job done.
There you have it here, Coach Mike Tomlin there, right there, following the Pittsburgh Steelers victory over the Saints as they beat them by 10 points to move to 3-6. And if we take a closer look at the standings right now, they find themselves right now in the AFC 13th, but only 2 games out, realistically 3 games to the head-to-head matchup. They lost to the Patriots in their home opener earlier this year. So they technically find themselves 3 games behind. 2 games in the win-loss column, but 3 games since they beat them 1-on-1. So they would, if they were to tie with that, if they were to finish the season, the Steelers would need to have a better record than the Patriots on the day. They cannot end it in a tie because the head-to-head fall outside the rest of the AFC right now. If the playoffs were to start today, that's how the playoffs will look right now. You would have the Chiefs getting the bye, and then you would have the Miami Dolphins taking on the LA Chargers, and the Miami Dolphins taking on the New England Patriots, an AFC East rivalry right there. And you would also have the Tennessee Titans versus the Buffalo Bills, and the Ravens hosting the New York Jets. So the Bills right now slip into a wild card during yesterday's game of the week right there. Buffalo Bills right now, who are butthurt, are already 0-2 in the AFC East with a lot of momentum and stuff getting out of hand with their way right there. But as we continue to look at it right now, I am Charles Prodigy Richey right now as we get ready to get set right now. Steelers, for the most part, right now, their season is still on life support, but with some hope, believe it or not. T.J. Watt did make his return in this game. He did not have any sacks, which I was pretty much expecting, but he did see like the impact as far as like the pressure rate on this game right here. The Steelers going into this matchup here right there versus the New Orleans Saints going into it, they were not able to generate like enough pressures all season without T.J. Watt's presence for the most part. They had about 14% pressure rate, 46 pressures this year, which is towards the bottom of the league. And the sacks definitely took a hit. So the Steelers did find a way, but the big thing I think that stood out in this game was the run defense right here. So they find themselves 3-6, 2 games out of the final wildcard spot. Again, it was realistically 3 games if you really think about it. And the run defense, main highlight outside T.J. Watt's return, they allowed 29 yards off of 15 carries for 1.9 yards per attempt. This is the first time they did this since COVID year, the very first year of the pandemic, where they defeated the Houston Texans, which was their second home game that year. They wanted to win that game, if memory serves me correctly. Looking back at that season, I want to say it was 28-21 in that game. 28-21 right there. Steelers won that game versus. That was the last time we saw the. Last season we saw Deshaun Watson. The Steelers would come back from an 11-point lead, and were able to outscore the Texans in that game 25-7 the rest of the way. They win 28-21 right there. And the funny thing about it was in that game, was just like the Saints game, the Steelers only allowed for yesterday's performance in that game, and where they had 15 carries for 29 yards by the New Orleans Saints, about 2 yards per attempt in that contest right there. And so when you looked at it right there, the Steelers who were able to get the job done for Sunday, definitely a relief. And you can see how much, I mean, if TJ Watt was stayed healthy, I definitely feel this team could have been 5-4 as well. And I agree with a lot of people in the local and national media. I mean, if TJ Watt does not get hurt, I think they do win that Patriots game in their home opener right there. They'd be 2-0. I think the game's reasonably, they would still lose. I mean, when you think about it from those standpoints, would have been the Browns game on Thursday Night Football. They're not stopping the run that night. I don't care how much pressure TJ Watt would have been getting and the double teams they would have had. That was still a close game, yes, but they were getting outmanned and just outbeat, just whipped that defense front all game right there. I think where they allowed over 175 yards in that game. Let's see, for the Thursday night game that took place earlier, which was their third game this year. Yeah, they allowed 171 yards on the ground that game, which was not a very good sign. But I mean, for the most part, too. I mean, look at it this way: the run def. I mean, so like I said, they will still lost the Browns game. I definitely feel like they will lost to the Bills. Still, that would have been like their second loss, and then it will, definitely will still lost the Eagles. So you look at it right there, all in all. I mean, and maybe the Dolphins. I'm not sure about the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins end up winning that game, but still, I would definitely say for the most part at least 5-4 right there in this year, or maybe not 5-4, maybe 6-3. Maybe I'm being a little bit generous here. But anyway, looking at it this way, I mean, the very good news is about the Steelers right now. Their run defense, as I was just mentioning, which has been gaining some serious momentum as this season went along. I mean, so far up to this point, they've allowed 972 yards off of 238 attempts for about a little over 4 yards per attempt. Since the beginning of October, and where the Steelers, I mean, during that span, I mean, right there, and where they've been 2-4 since then. The Steelers have given up 544 yards in 6 games off 135 attempts, 4 yards per attempt. I mean, it's still about the same average, but if you think about it, that's pretty good right there. And they find themselves currently at 6 right there. And that, yes, I know we got the Eagles and Commanders game going on right now in Philadelphia, but to be honest, with you, I don't see why not. And if we look at it for the most part, it's going to be interesting finish the rest of the way. But man, I just definitely do feel like the momentum right now, Prime gaining a little something. We shall see. But for the most part, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers, they definitely do have some life for right now. I guess let's pause for pause right now as far as draft positioning. The draft currently right now, by winning that game, for the Steelers. They had the fourth overall pick being projected last week, according to Tankathon. Now we look at this year's draft. That has changed a bit. The Steelers have dropped down 6 spots now. Now they're the 10th overall pick in this year's draft. Houston Texans are right now would own the number 1 pick if the season were to finish today. Raiders would have the 2nd pick, lost an embarrassing game to the Indianapolis Colts, more by first year coach right now, currently interim coach, Jeff Saturday, right now, who there's been a lot of controversy surrounding that move. And a lot of coaches like Bill Cowher, Rex Ryan, pretty upset about the coach fraternity, how they overlooked that. We'll get into that subject another time. But for the most part, what we do need to know right now, Miles Jack, who has been responsible for a lot of that run defense too. I mean, Devin Bush, I mean, still has a way to go for right now. I mean, when you look at it, I mean, there's see if he could still snap out of it. I mean, right now he's got 47 total tackles up to this point, where he's only made 29 solo. So which is still not all that impressive, which is not opening up a lot of eyes right now. I mean, who's made all 9 of his starts? I mean, which is the only positive I could say. So if you do that right now, by how many more games they got left in the season, he is projected to finish up with about 89 total tackles for the season. Still well side of the mark right there, if you ask me, for a 10th overall pick in the 2019 draft. The Steelers moved up to go grab in that year when they were trying to find Ryan Shazier's replacement. But for the most part, here we go right now. Steelers are trying to get everything going right now. And you look at the rest of their season, the rest of the way, too. Aside from that, I mean, coming up, the games that they got remaining on their schedule. A very interesting scenario how they find themselves. I mean, if they can just get some consistency, we shall see. But when you look at it right now, uh, they're going to be playing the Bengals next week at home at Acrisure Stadium, and then be on the road versus the Colts on Monday night on November 28th, right there. And then the very first game of December in Atlanta. So you're going to be having 2 out of your next 3 games on the road right there. I did say when I did the pregame show the day before the game, the eve of the game, I should say, excuse me, that I can actually honestly see the Steelers going 4-0 right there, as long as you have T.J. Watt right there. I really do believe that for this team, because the thing is, you see how much just his presence on the field alone, a lot of like his teammates, so just fed off that his defensive Padres right there, and it's just amazing what they could do together there. I mean, for the most part, as long as they just keep hanging in there. I mean, this season could probably have they could flip the script, so to speak, and that's where they really got to like test everybody right now. Just find a way to just stay healthy the rest of the way. I do think that's just the biggest key right there. Because without the health, they don't really go far. As a case in point, without TJ Watt. And here we go right now. Steelers right now, for the most part, uh, still find a way to hang around in there, and we'll see about that. But Miles Jack, who played in all 8 games prior to this, he actually was on the injury report last week dealing with a knee injury. He didn't practice at all Wednesday and Thursday, but he was finally able to practice on Friday, barely. So Robert Spillane, he started in his place at right inside linebacker, has best performance all season with 7 total tackles and a tackle for loss. Also, Demonte Kazi, who filled in for free safety Mika Fitzpatrick, combined for 4 interceptions with quarterback Levi Wallace. So on September 21st, remember, September 21st, Kazi was suspended 3 games for violating the NFL substitute abuse policy. But remember, almost 3 weeks earlier, he was placed on IR with a wrist injury. So it took him a while to actually see some playing time for the most part. Demonte Kazi, who's been trying to find his footing with this team. And for the Steelers, he's only played in 1 game for us this year. The only one being yesterday afternoon, which was versus New Orleans Saints right here. And in that game, Kazi, who had an interception in this game, he had 4 total tackles, 3 of them being solo, and a pass deflection, and which was very helpful to the Steelers winning the turnover battle in this game. Did a very good job not turning the ball over. So +2 ratio. I mean, funny, interesting how it is right there. Like their very first game of the season right there. And where the Steelers right there, for the most part, I mean, when they beat the Bengals, they had 4 interceptions off Joe Burrow plus a fumble recovery, a forced fumble on him, and where they had a +5 ratio. T.J. Watt's presence back again this time. They had a +2 turnover ratio for this. And there we go. So right now, as we look at further and further, uh, this is where we take off right now. And we'll see this time at the rematch versus Bengals. Remember, even with TJ Watt's presence alone, I mean, the main thing was the quarterback play, of course, with Mitch Trubisky right there, too. And I really feel the Steelers could sweep the Bengals head to head. I mean, and +2. I mean, when you look at some of the other stuff that really stood out here, I mean, aside from that, I mean, for everything that's been going on, I mean, you looked at like the rushing yards right there, which include a season high of 217 yards off of 43 carries for 5 yards per attempt. Najee had his best performance all season, and where Najee Harris in this game, he was responsible for like 46% of those rushing yards, nearly half. He had 99 yards off of 20 carries, so which was very huge to him, by the way. Speaking of the running game, too, also Kenny Pickett got in the fun there, too, where he had 8 carries for 51 yards, 6.4 attempts. He ends up finishing passing for the day 162 net yards. He threw for 199, but he got sacked 6 times for 137. And 6 yards, I mean, 6 sacks for 37 yards loss. And basically, right there, too, Kenny Pickett, who was favoring his left ankle after being sacked by the Saints early in the third quarter, Pickett, he did limp up between snaps for the final 2 plays of that possession, which found the medical answer, but he stayed in the game and showed no visible effect. Pickett was quoted saying, "I knew I was staying in." He said after the game. Feels good. Pickett said moments earlier. I'll ice it and be good to go. Running back Najee Harris who was evaluated for concussion after a season-long 36-yard run late in the first quarter. I was telling medical personnel that I was all right. Harris said, "You don't need to look at this stuff. I'm all right." And there we go. But concussions right there, Naj. I would advise you right now. I know it's frustrating to be pulled out of a game at the same time. Your safety, my man, with a lot of players watching out. Gotta keep that in perspective. But anyway, after the game, Tomlin did not mention any other players as being afflicted by injury. Tight end Pat Fryermuth had a noticeable limp in the locker room after the game, but was not believed to be serious. So that's where we stand as far as the players' health going forward. Anyway, as we look at right now, here we are. So, I mean, can you believe it right now? And to be honest with you, yeah, it is very interesting, to say the least. And Mark Madden, too, I mean, who's definitely a guy who tends to let his voice be known, good or bad, but I mean, he's still a famous Pittsburgher, also former wrestling personality, too, announcer. He hosts Madden's Monday podcast as a member of Trib Live, says he's unimpressed with Kenny Pickett's performance. He was quoted on the criticism of Kenny Pickett, and we're getting the fair or foul right now. Right now, I think he stinks, Madden said. I haven't seen him make any discernible progress since he got in that game. I mean, and then what he's saying, what he's hearing from like fans and people in the media, it's still Canada. It's still the game plan. Man was saying complaints many from Steeler Nation. I just hear all this garbage where it's not his fault, but he is the only quarterback in history that doesn't impact the winning or losing, and he is just a bystander. It's the most important position in football. Kenny Pickett's only 2 touchdown passes for the season right now. He's only got 2 touchdowns along with 8 interceptions. I mean, of course, I mean, that is nothing to like be totally enthused about, but I mean, you do like the movement. the way he move around the pocket. I mean, continue to improve as a passer as long as his offense line can protect him a little bit more. I feel right now, I mean, the criticism, I mean, I don't blame Madden for giving him tough love for right now. I mean, we're liking all the special intangibles he brings, all the movement right there. I mean, he's definitely giving this offense a spark. But at the same time, too, I mean, listen, this is a very sacred position that is in transition right now with this team. I mean, you gotta like you. I would just push back right there too on where he's saying like it's not Canada's fault, but at the same time too, when you have a lot of players speaking up in frustration, words like Deontay Johnson or Chase Claypool, who's no longer with this team, he's with the Chicago Bears. Players who do get a little agitated right there and frustration with the chemistry that they're trying to execute on the field together. Yes, I understand that, but at the same time, this does have to point some way the way he's calling these plays. I mean, you cannot tell me or anybody that's watching this team uh, as a fan that you're not frustrated with it. And to be honest with you, I mean, there's been a lot of legitimate beef with Mike Tomlin and this coaching staff right now as of late. I mean, their last good offensive coordinator, let's just call it what it is, has been Todd Haley. What do you do after Todd Haley? You try I mean, at least 3 seasons with Randy Fichtner. Randy Fichtner, he only had one good solid season. I mean, with the Steelers. I mean, realistically, when it was just when two when a third of the killer bees broke off, and that was Le'Veon Bell. He had Antonio Brown for one season with Ben Roethlisberger. He had James Conner, who was healthy throughout most of that season, up until the Thursday night game when he slowly got like touching and pretty much wasn't the same runner and dependable for that team the rest of the way. But I mean, that was his only good year. Was 2018 right there. I mean, where they still had a prolific offense. Of course, 2019, uh, life beyond the killer bees right there. Ben Roethlisberger, that second game, the home opener, he injures his throwing elbow, and he's eventually lost for the season. So that's what you got to think about right now. I mean, and then Roethlisberger, who started off decently, I mean, in 2020, the COVID year, I mean, all the way pretty much through like the early part of November, had a decent season with the quick throws, but still your running game for at least, I mean, for the most part, as a team, the last 5 years or so has been in the bottom five. There's no way around that. Now you've had good running backs. I mean, in that span, but I mean, the last time they were in like top 10 was 2007. We're talking about over 15 years as a team to be ranked that way. Now, granted, like I said, you did have guys, I mean, like a Willie Parker, Rashad Mendenhall, then Le'Veon Bell, Connor for every now and then, but then the Najee Harris. But you never had that consistent threat as a team where they're going to really scare you. That is the truth right there. So, this is what you got to think about right now if you're going into this right now. How do you get this thing back on the tracks right now? You have to consider those at all points right there for the most part. And then not only that too, I mean, fair or foul right now, the Steelers are running their head into a brick wall as far as like how they'll be better positioned for better talent. I will say foul for right now because we got to see how this season shakes out. And to be honest with you right now, too, I mean, I think, I mean, the worst they could do the rest of the way is if they go like 6-11. I mean, I know a lot of people have been saying like 7-10, which sounds about right at this point, but I would not be surprised. Like, let's say if you beat the Bengals, you beat the Colts, then you beat the Falcons. But then you look at the rest of this schedule right here, too. I mean, after the Falcons, you're going to be facing the Ravens at home, on the road versus Panthers, and then you're going to be at the Christmas Eve game versus the Raiders in Baltimore, and then at home against Cleveland right here. Now, I could see them. I mean, for the most part, maybe 7 games is almost possible at this point. I mean, or what is it, 4? No, excuse me. 9 wins is almost sounds reasonable at this point. And to be honest with you, I mean, if you got a healthy TJ Watt, then if you get back Mika Fitzpatrick in time in like the next couple of weeks, I dare say they could have 10 wins. But at the same time, too, I mean, we're in football purgatory right now with this team. That's what we need to think about for this for the most part, and that's all I gotta say on that. But anyway, that's gonna do it for this edition here of the Metal Steel podcast. We're just wrapping up, recapping the Steelers' victory over the New Orleans Saints right there. We're going to be having the Cincinnati Bengals coming up at home next week. So back-to-back home games for the Steelers right now for the black and gold. And if you look at how the Steelers' season has gone, they've won most of their games at home, and where they're at 500, they're 2-2. The only problem is that's been killing them 1-4 on the road. And I mean, you dare argue a lot of those losses on the road were some real good teams. I mean, a few good, very good ones, but definitely some good teams. Anyway, once again, you guys can follow me on social media. You can follow me on Twitter at MountainSteelCJR and on Instagram at MountainSteelNation. Yours truly will definitely be heading down to the Christmas Eve game for Franco Harris's retirement. So, and just once again, I just want to just wrap up the show by saying once again, I know Veterans Day was Friday. Thank you to all the men and women that make the tough sacrifices, commitments, and choice, or not necessarily by choice, when they gotta go serve to keep ourselves safe and be privileged for everything in our country and worldwide to be enjoying what we get to do. So thank you. I hope you had a very safe, memorable, and fantastic weekend to remiss and find some closure and continue everybody to be safe out there, especially here in the East Coast and the Midwest. So cold weather coming up. We got some winter weather coming in right now. Maybe that might be a blessing in disguise. Maybe we'll see some snow on the horizon. I don't know, for sure, in their next few home games. That might be a good omen for the rest of the way this season, as crazy as that may sound. But anyway, that's going to do it for this edition here of the Mass Steel Podcast. As I always leave you, don't be trolling, be rolling. Here goes, here we go. I gone. Thank you for watching the Mass Steel Podcast with your host, Charles Prodigy Richey, here on YouTube. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button. And for all the latest Mass Steel Podcast episodes, feel free to download them on Mixcloud, Anchor.fm, and SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcasts.